So I was working with the Yes Men, and someone just announced that there was going to be a 24-hour drum circle for Bloomberg. This was the weekend after the eviction. We wanted to get involved somehow because we thought this sounded hilarious. Like, we heard that Bloomberg really loves drum circles. At the same time, I remember voicing a very strong opinion against drum circles. Like, I was just like, let's take the most annoying aspect of the occupation, which was the drummers. And of course, I say this knowing full well that yes, I love the drummers. Like, drumming has a very important place in protest, and I have nothing against drummers per se. The idea of like, oh, drum circle hippies, that's like the worst. It's basically playing right into the stereotype that people like the New York Post and like other poo-pooers are like, oh, it's just a bunch of freeloading, bongo, drum playing, pot smoking hippies. And it was just one of those things, you know, like how can we not laugh at this? One of the Yes Men came up with the idea, I think it was Andy's idea, to actually impersonate like someone from like Bloomberg's or like organization, to give like a ridiculous speech. So we had envisioned that someone would be on a stoop with a clipboard acting official and like trying to get the cops try to actually get the cops to move. You know, be like, officer, can you please help over here? Like we need to fill in this gap. And like, I thought it would be hilarious if we could get them to do the hokey pokey. Like, officer, could you take a step to the left? No, take a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips. Well, of course, once we got there, that plan just went like to hell. So we show up, the entire block is blockaded. We get there, they start setting up these barricades like against the park on the sidewalk, and they declare that on one side of the barricade you're allowed to protest, but on the other side you can't protest. Like if you want to bang on something, you have to go inside the barricade. Oh, what does that say when there's like a designated free speech zone? Whatever gray term that may be, like you can just declare spaces where the Constitution does not apply, which is kind of fucked up, messed up idea. And so we sort of latched onto this idea that I was going to make this crazy speech that just had like a ridiculous language about like warlords and fiefdoms, like the mob with pitchforks, like it's a performance. You know, so like using words like, how would you feel if someone came unannounced to where you lived and kicked you out and like prevented you from moving freely? Like, you know, that sort of stuff. That made people very angry. They were like, that's what they did to us at Zuccotti. You know, so people did get it. They just didn't get that it was a performance. Well, some people did. Actually, I think most people were like, what are you really doing? And that's where things started to get a little wonky, I think. I said, like, you've reduced the mayor to behaving like a warlord in some sort of medieval fiefdom. I said something like, you barricaded the mayor in his own home, or you are encroaching on the mayor's freedom to like be peaceful in his own residence, you know, stuff like that. I said, you've brought a drum to a gunfight, and that made people very, very upset. The response was, did you just call this a gunfight? And then I was like, no, I did not. And I mean, which actually at the time I was like, that just fucked up the message. Looking back, it actually worked a lot better than it seemed to at the time. I don't think we expected it to make such a splash, because it just seemed too ridiculous for anyone to take seriously at all. But apparently not. I was approached pretty much exclusively by the media after that. And that's when things started becoming a little bit inscrutable, because the point of the action was never to fool the media. It was just supposed to be a satire, supposed to be like, oh, look at these ridiculously contradictory things. You know, maybe 15 minutes people were like, what is this? Like, really? But then, all it took was someone texting Stu Lozer and him saying, no, I don't know. There's no one by that name. Well, Stu Lozer, press secretary for the Bloomberg administration. And so the press were like, oh, no, this isn't anything. You're nothing. And so it was very surprising then to see the news story the next day, imposter woman fools the press. And I was just like, no, nobody was fooled. And that was alarming because it was like, wow, you know, way to miss the point entirely. And it was a little disheartening. But then, being at demonstrations since then, I've had a lot of positive responses. Like people being like, oh, you had me going, but that, I thought it was hilarious. Like afterwards. So that made me feel a lot better. I've gotten very positive responses from the protesters. Maybe not the drummers.